Cultivation Crew. It is our last and final week of Cultivation Crew, number 4, and this one is called the cherry on top. So, this week we're going to be talking about the last piece of plants, which is their fruit or their seed that they produce, and that might sound a little boring, but fruits and seeds are actually super, super interesting. So, we're going to jump right in. Do you know the difference between a fruit and a vegetable? So a lot of people talk about that, and most people don't know. They think they do, but they don't. And there's a lot of things that are fruits, like tomatoes, that people normally think about as vegetables. So a fruit is any sort of thing that holds a seed and came from the flower of the plant, whereas a vegetable is anything else. So a potato wouldn't count as a fruit because a potato is actually part of the root of the plant. And so that's not from the flower, so that doesn't count. Whereas also a carrot would not be considered a fruit because carrots are the root that grows underground, and so that would not be a fruit. But anything that is produced from the flower of a plant that ends up bearing seeds, that's a fruit. So things like avocados, tomatoes, peppers, those are all fruits that a lot of people don't think about. We're going to talk about some of the different types of fruit really quick because I think they're cool and important. So you've probably had at least one type of these 4 common kinds of fruit. The first one is a berry. Most of the things that we call berries are not berries. So raspberries, not berries. Strawberries, also not berries. What is a berry is an avocado, a banana, a pepper, blueberries, gooseberries, cranberries, grapes, and tomatoes. Those are all different types of berries. And the reason for that is that they all have multiple seeds and the seeds are all inside. So things like strawberries, they have the seeds on the outside, and so they're not a true berry. So that's type number 1. Type number 2 is kind of a subcategory. Citruses are berries. So oranges and lemons are types of berries, but they're called citrus because the outside is a little harder. So you know that hard rind or peel that you have to take off? Then oranges or lemons or limes, those would make those citruses, which is a specific type of berry. Another common one is a drupe. So these are any fruits that have one singular pit in the middle. So that would be like a peach or a cherry. And I thought that an avocado was a drupe because if you think about an avocado, it's got the hard seed in the middle, just one. And so I thought that that would make that the same type as a peach or a cherry. But an avocado is a berry because the flesh of the fruit that surrounds the seed in the avocado is soft and not hard. So if you ever eat a peach, the flesh gets really tough when you get down to the peach pit close to the stone, and an avocado is very soft around that. So an avocado is actually a berry. And then the last normal kind of fruit is a pome. So that would be an apple or a pear. And a pome is anything that has the fruit that's almost all formed from the ovary under the flower. So that's just a very specific type of berry. And there are a lot of other kinds of fruits, and we're going to give you a brief rundown. Legumes. So beans are fruit. So next time you eat fruit salad, you can put beans in it. Wouldn't that be great? And a legume is the type. A legume is anything that splits into 2 halves. So a bean or a pea would be one. Capsules are dry fruits that have many carpels. That's the part of the flower we'll show you right here. So see those carpels? So it's a dry fruit that has many, many carpels, and an example would be an orchid flower's seed pod. Grains, we have grains in our bread, grains in the breading that goes on chicken nuggets, grains in baked goods, grains in flour. Grains would be like wheat or barley, and the definition of that is that the fruit and the seed are joined close together. There's also multiple fruits. This is a type of fruit. I know that's confusing, but multiple fruits are any fruit that are made up of multiple different flowers that make one fruit. So this would be a pineapple. And if you look at this picture of the pineapple, you can see that it's made up of several different flowers that all make the one fruit. So that would be a multiple fruit. An aggregate fruit would be one flower, but many pistils. So again, here's a picture of flower parts in those pistils. So a strawberry flower has many, many pistils. They're little fringy things that are prettily sticking out of the top. So yes, that would be a strawberry would be an aggregate fruit and not a berry. And then the last one we have are nuts. So nuts have one seed and a hard cap like acorns. So when we talk about our flowers, normally what happens to make a fruit is this. So here's a terrible drawing of a lily with the petals right here, And here's the ovary. So the ovary is what is housing what's going to be the seeds. And then after the flower is pollinated, the petals can start to fall off. And as the petals are falling off, this little part, this ovary, is growing and growing with the seeds inside until it is the only part that's left, and that is what becomes the fruit with all the seeds inside. So that's a basic overview of fruits and how they're formed. So your experiment this week is to find apple DNA. So you can find DNA in several different kinds of fruits. If you Google it, there's YouTube videos everywhere. I'm going to send you guys a link that I put in the newsletter that will help you learn how to find DNA in an apple. And what DNA is, and I'm sure your parents can explain it as well, DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, which is a long word, and that's why we say DNA. And every living thing has DNA. So you have your own DNA, I have my own DNA, everybody has their own DNA. Every plant has their own DNA, every animal, every organism that's alive has its own DNA. And DNA is basically the instructions to make your body be the way that it is, to make a plant be the way that it is. So DNA is the instructions for the cells to grow the way that they do. And so the reason that you're finding DNA is because it's going to be different in every apple. So in an apple, the two seeds that are inside the apple would both have their own DNA. The apple has its own DNA. So you're going to find that separate DNA and you're going to be able to look at it. And if you have a microscope or magnifying glass, it might look a little cooler. But even if you can just see the little strands, you're looking at the instructions for how the apple is the way that it is. So that's really cool. That's our experiment for the week. And the last thing we're going to talk about really quick is different types of seeds and how they get the places that they get. So we talked about all the different types of fruits, and fruits are basically things that house the seed. So when we talked about all our different fruits, our beans and our grains and our apples and our drupes and our pomes and every different kind of fruit, it's a house for the seed to live in. It's a fleshy is the word. So when you eat an apple, you're eating the apple flesh. It's a fleshy home to keep the seeds safe. And we're going to talk about the different types of seeds and how those are released into the world. So when you think about a seed, the seed can't just drop right underneath the parent plant most of the time. It's not smart in terms of nature for the seed to drop right under where its parent is. And that's because when a seed is growing, if you think about a tree, the tree's roots are absorbing all the nutrients into the soil. So if an acorn falls down out of an oak tree and lands right next to its mama oak tree, it's not going to be able to grow very well because it's going to be competing for the same food in the soil as the mother tree, which is a lot bigger and stronger already. And it's not going to get a lot of sun or a lot of water because the mama tree is going to be shading the little baby oak tree and absorbing all of that as well. The seeds have found out a lot of cool ways to get away from their parents. So here are some of the ways that seeds will move away from their parent plant. Some of them glide. So if you've ever seen the helicopter seeds from maple trees, they glide through the air and this carries them far away. You can also think of the seeds from dandelions that you blow, and there's a species called the Javan cucumber that I included a video of in the newsletter, and those seeds look like little paper airplanes and they're really big and they glide through the air as well. Another way is there are seeds that are eaten by the pacu fish. Here's a lovely picture of the pacu fish. So in the places where the pacu fish lives, there are seasonal floods. And when the floods come, the water rises and the pacus can swim on what was once dry land. And this is at the same time as certain plants are dropping their fruit, so that the pacu fish eats the fruit, digests it, poops the seed out, and then it's somewhere completely different than the parent plant. And plants like the tucum palm rely almost exclusively on this fish. There are barbs. So if you've ever been out in the woods and gotten barbs all over you, little burrs, a lot of them come from something like the burdock, and the burdock is responsible for Velcro. So if you look at the picture of the burdock here, you can see the little hooks. The inventor of Velcro, like I say in the newsletter, was inspired by the burrs of the burdock plant. So those little barbs, those burrs, are one way that seeds are spread because they stick to things that walk past them, and then they fall off or are pulled off many, many feet or miles later. Another is digested. So some seeds can't grow on their own. They actually need to be digested by an animal. So blackberries need to be eaten by birds. Birds have something in their body called a gizzard that breaks down tough things like seeds, and it actually gets rid of the really hard shell on the outside of the seed of the blackberry. And so when the bird poops it out, it has been broken down enough that it can grow. Some of them are buried like acorns. So, squirrels bury their acorns and sometimes they don't ever find them again. And then those can grow into oak trees. A lot of oak trees are grown that way. And sometimes even when squirrels partially eat the acorn, they can still grow into an oak tree. Some plants explode. I've got some videos of jewelweed and exploding cucumber or squirting cucumber attached to the newsletter. They're really cool to watch. And when you touch them, they blow up and spray their seeds everywhere. I've also got a really cool video of a sandbox tree, which are super dangerous, and their fruits can explode as well. It's been said that the sandbox tree, when their fruits explode, are so loud you can hear it throughout the whole forest, and people have been hit by flying pieces of the seed and gotten injured. And then another is when plants send their seeds out to sea. So both mangrove pods and coconuts will float miles and miles away and wash up somewhere else and grow there. So these are just a few of the ways that plants can distance themselves from their mother plants. So fruit and seeds are super cool. And I hope to see you tomorrow to make your planter box and have an amazing week.